out with that. The people, united, will never be defeated. The people, united, will never be defeated. The people, united, will never be defeated. How about in Espanol? El pueblo, unido, jamás serán vencido. El pueblo, unido, jamás serán vencido. So this is one movement. We're not competing. We're talking about fair trade, not free trade. Fair trade means that all people in the Americas would get decent health care, not the pharmaceutical companies running roughshod over all of us, not the pharmaceutical companies telling us that they can charge whatever they want, and we end up paying more in the United States than in Canada. And then we have politicians telling us, oh, the Canadian drugs aren't safe enough. That kind of trade is bullshit. And what we're talking about here is fair trade, where workers count, and consumers count, and environmentalists count, and immigrants count, and people in the three countries are all united. What's going on there is that the governors are meeting, Republican governors, the few Democratic governors, Canadians, Mexicans, and all hundreds of corporate lobbyists are here. They flew up here from Washington and from everywhere else. Those are the same corporate lobbyists that have screwed our health care. Those are the same corporate lobbyists that jack up insurance rates. Those are the same corporate lobbyists that make sure that we have health care crumbs, not health care for all. So let's hear it together. What do we want? Health care for all. 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 Health care for all.
Health care for all. Health care for all.
So the way NAFTA has worked is that right here in Rhode Island, 50,000 manufacturing jobs have been destroyed since NAFTA was passed. And there's an opportunity, not because of Donald Trump, but because millions of people in this country are fighting back. They're fighting for jobs. They're fighting for health care. We're fighting for immigration rights. We're fighting for reproductive rights. We're fighting for a decent America. And there's an opportunity now to renegotiate NAFTA and the millions of jobs that have been lost in these trade deals and the ways in which working class people and manufacturing workers get split up. You can speak on this, sister. I'm not sure exactly what this means.
Oh, it rhymes. Fair trade, Medicaid.
There you go. That's great. Fair trade, Medicaid. 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 Fair trade, Medicaid.
Fair trade, Medicaid.
It's okay. We now have the basis of our unity, right? Let's say it again. The people, united, will never be defeated. The people, united, will never be defeated. The people, united, will never be defeated. The people, united, will never be defeated.
The people, united, will never be defeated.
Okay, we got that down. So just a little bit more about this trade stuff, and you'll see again how we're connected. Our trade deals since NAFTA have all had in them what's called investor-state dispute settlement. In other words, they call it ISDS, I call it bullshit. And what that means is that foreign corporations, they can sue governments if the governments improve anything that affects their future profits. So how many people here were against the Keystone pipeline? So under NAFTA, TransCanada, the pipeline company, is suing the United States for $15 billion, not in a court, but in an arbitration case, because we stopped supposedly $15 billion of their future profit. Now, if we as citizens want to sue for fair trade, we have to go to our government that then goes to their government, whichever one of the governments it is, and the same government, in our case, that negotiated these rotten trade deals is supposed to represent us. So on a citizen complaint, it's government to government. But when a multinational corporation like TransCanada or a pharmaceutical company, lots of the pharmaceutical companies have these lawsuits going on because other countries dare to produce generic drugs, dare to produce drugs that people could get who are poor, who live in other countries around the world. And so our pharmaceutical companies, under the same provision, investor-state dispute settlement that's been in all our trade agreements, they're not about trade. We are for trade. We are for fair trade. But since NAFTA, every one of these agreements has been about corporate profits. It's not been about health care. It's not been about safety. It's not been about the things that all of us would care about together. So our number one demand to the governors who are going to meet here, that we will be carrying on in the streets all year long as this is negotiated, is we don't want investor-state dispute settlement. No secret tribunals for multinational corporations. Put people and the planet first. People and the planet first. People and the planet first. People and the planet first.
People and the planet first. People and the planet first. People and the planet first.
And second, that all of us, whether we're Mexicans, Canadians, or citizens of the U.S. or immigrants here, that we want to put our rights at least on the same level, if not above these multinational corporations, and that we need balanced trade. So in Mexico, small farmers lost their land, campesinos. They lost their land. They were driven into the maquila plants with promises of decent wages. Those are false promises, and many of them then cross the border with or without documents. And we have to get to the point where we understand that whether we're Mexicans who grew up on small farms and lost their land, as Monsanto and the big ag companies, the same companies that poison our land, as they took over the farming in Mexico, they came here, or whether we grew up right here, and we're from a manufacturing family, and our families lost their jobs, and people lost hope. We're all in this together, whether we're Canadians, smallest of the countries, we're all in this together. And we've got to figure out how, in a global economy, we learn how to unite and stand together. And healthcare for all is a worldwide slogan. As healthcare experts know, we're near the bottom in healthcare rights, and we're at the top in healthcare spending. Over $1 trillion a year goes to the insurance companies for what they call administration. And that administration is not healthcare. That administration is not helping millions of families across this country. So the healthcare fight and the fight for fair trade are directly linked. And we're saying to the big insurance companies, to the pharmaceutical companies, and the others that have driven our healthcare prices up and healthcare itself down, and whether it's them or the manufacturing companies that can't wait to leave the country and go to wherever it's cheapest and destroy jobs here and then turn people into wage slaves in Mexico, they're all in the same boat. And so we have to be in the same boat, fighting together, fighting together. So with that, thanks for joining with us. There's other speakers here. We are all united, sisters and brothers. Decent health care, decent jobs, fair trade. We're all in the fight together.
The people united will never be defeated.
The people united
will never be defeated.